Shalom. First thing first, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone, those who rule well, who I learned this truth from. Salutation to the brothers stiffly pushing this one truth in all sincerity and diligence, risking your laws and freedoms to do so. Shalom to the rest of the elect as we all await the second Exodus coming quickly by the hands of the Lord Yahweh Shah. This is your brother Kakabar. I'm going to be doing a lesson going into how a lot of these women will have to endure the shame of being unmarried. All right. A lot of these women are going to endure the shame of being unmarried, man. And the inspiration of this lesson, came from this article I have in front of you, which is entitled, "A New Study Claims That 45% of Women Will Be Single and Childless by 2030. Okay, new study claims that 45%, damn near 50% of women will be single and childless by 2030. And they got a picture of a proud looking woman, proud to be independent, proud to be single, right? Well, this is a shameful thing, man. And, we're going to go over that in this lesson, okay, because this is ultimately why, when you go into Isaiah 4:1, these women are going to start leeching on to the men of the Lord, so that they don't have to endure the shame of being unmarried, okay? But now, all right, in these times now, they love it. They choosing to be single, choosing to be childless. All right, but you better bet your last dollar these hoes is sleeping around, okay, hopping ride to ride, you know what I'm saying, getting flown out, yachts, girls trips, so they're choosing to spend their prime in their good years being a whore. All right, and this, we're gonna read through this study a bit. This is thanks to feminism and its liberation, they feel empowered to do this shit, man. But little do they know, all right, this is a very shameful thing, and we're gonna go over that and ultimately why a lot of women won't make it, man. Because in ancient times, this wasn't the case. This was highly frowned upon, man. All right, but it says new study claims 45% of women will be single and childless by 2030. It says opinion, the dynamics of modern society are changing at a rapid pace, particularly in relation to gender roles and expectations. All right, and scriptures say, I've created a new thing in the earth, a woman shall compass a man. So a lot of days, or it's like nowadays, these women feel as though they genuinely don't need men. They don't want a family structure. They don't want children. All right. I mean, I've talked to some of these hoes, man. They'll fucking around. Not only will they get an IUD, these hoes will take away the whole sex producing organs out of themselves, man. It's not funny, but it just goes to show you the lengths they'll take to not have to deal with childbearing. All right. But it said the dynamics of modern society are changing at a rapid pace, particularly in relation to gender roles and expectations. One of the most significant shifts is the growing number of women who are choosing to stay single and childless well into their prime working years, man. See, so in their prime years, these hoes will be single, hopping from dick to dick. Okay, like I said, they do this, and then by the time they get to their 40s and 50s, that's when they want to settle down, and they have a list of demands that you must fulfill. All right, or if you don't fulfill them, you're not a real man, right? And whole time the bitch is fatter, she's fat, she's out of shape, she don't look good. Okay, scriptures say beauty is fleeting, meaning it goes away. All right, we supposed to get you in your prime, man, the flower of your youth. When you nice and what's that word? I forget, blanking on the word, but you primed out. You know what I'm saying? All your titties are perky, your ass is nice and fat and bubbly. Not when you all dried up, looking like a fucking, you know what I'm saying? No, man. All right. That's not what it is, but that's when these hoes, realize it too late. And then they want to put all those burdens on you. But it says, according to a recent study by Morgan Stanley, it is projected that by 2030, approximately 45% of women between the ages of 25 to 44 will be childless and single. See, wow, 25 to 44. All right, 45% of them will be childless and single. So that's damn near half of these women walking around, man. Okay, and Kevin Gates said it, or not Kevin Gates, like Kevin Samuels. He said it. women control access to the box. All right. But men control access to relationships. All right. In marriage. So while you women out here sleeping around thinking that you're empowering yourself, you're really just lessening your value. Okay. Because they say a lock that opens many keys, or a key that opens many locks, is a master key. But a lock that is opened by many keys is a shitty lock. Okay, think about that, man. You know what I'm saying? You a lock, which is you women referring to your box. You just letting any niggas ride inside of you. I mean, what are you guarding? What value do you have left? Normally, things that are valuable or scarce are hard to come by. You know what I'm saying? That's where modesty comes in, man. Okay, but you women are so ran through. I mean, you walk out the house with nothing on. I mean, it's honestly not really much to. It's not really much to desire. Not really much to imaginate about, man. That's sad. That's a shameful thing, you know. But yeah. It says this represents a substantial increase compared to previous decades, where marriage and motherhood were often considered cornerstones of a woman's identity. See? So this shows you how women's liberation and feminism has drastically shifted the minds of these women, man. You know, now they're choosing to be single. They don't want a relationship. Okay, they will not be held accountable. All right, they will not take counsel. You cannot tell them what they can and can't do unless you're in the bedroom. See, that's off. It says this represents a substantial increase compared to previous decades, where marriage and motherhood were often considered cornerstones of a woman's identity. Okay, and this is where we're gonna get into how shameful it is for you women to be single. You're really in a trick bag because you thinking you empowering yourself because you get to chase your career, chase the bag, sleep around like a man can do. All right. And in your mind, you have no repercussions because all you can do, you can abort the children, you can abort the baby, or if you keep it, all right, and you want to be bitter towards the man that knocked your ass up, you can put him on child support. You see, you're either going to abort babies left and right, all right, be on some form of birth control, or put niggas on child support, man. And really, you women don't get held accountable, but this is the reason why these times ahead, when all hell breaks loose, that's the recipe for disaster for your ass, man. See, it says, as societal norms evolve, women are increasingly prioritizing personal development and career advancement over traditional family roles, reshaping the fabric of both the economy and the workplace. So, yeah, imagine 10 more years. What would that number be? What percent would this shit be at? 20 more years, which we know good and well, Lordsville, Eastside don't got that long, but, you got 80% of women out here single and childless. Well, shit, society, the birth rate, the decline rate will just be astronomically high. Before long, hey, you fucking around wouldn't even have a civilization, man. Okay? All right? Because, a lot of these women, like I said, they just don't want to get in order, man. They want to embrace independence, all right, in their careers over a family, over, the what the Lord ultimately has, ordained. And whole time, while you're sitting there trying to be independent, now you got to do everything 100% by yourself, bitch. Go take the trash out, cook your dinner, okay? Kill that fucking spider, bring in the groceries. Whereas if you had a man, you could be a helpmeet unto that man, and y'all could have a cool little dynamic going on, man. But like I said, you women have been put in a trick bag because now the Lord is going to show you why. See? But let me grab this part again and then we'll jump into it. It says this represents a substantial increase compared to previous decades where marriage and motherhood were often considered cornerstones of a woman's identity. Now, this is 1 Timothy 2:15. It says, notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety. So a lot of the women that get saved are going to be saved in childbearing, man. Okay, the women are going to be saved in childbearing. So the same thing wherein you despise, y'all despise a man, you despise a marriage, having children, a family. Okay, because this number is increasing. This number has increased. So it's like more and more women are straying from that, man. Well, that just goes to show a lot of you hoes ain't gonna make it. All right, a lot of you ain't gonna make it, man. Your mindset is just fucked up. All right. Now, I went to ChatGPT and ultimately typed in, why it was such a shameful thing for for women to be unmarried in ancient times. Okay, and I wanted to specifically go into why women. Okay, it says for women in ancient times, being unmarried was especially shameful because it meant failing to fulfill the core expectations placed on women in nearly every major ancient society. To marry, bear children, and support a household. Here's a breakdown of why it was so heavily stigmatized. Yeah, because that's your whole purpose, man. To marry, bear children, and support a household. If you wasn't supporting your husband, okay, if you weren't supporting your husband, guess what? You was a maid, you was supporting your father's household. And that's when the dowry came into place, man, because once that father, lost that help, okay, he lost that help. That's when the dowry came into place, man. Ultimately a compensation. See? All right, but like I say, man, a lot of these women don't pursue their true purpose, and they become washed up goods with nothing to offer, man. See? All right, it says childbearing was a woman's primary purpose. In ancient cultures, a woman's value was deeply tied to her fertility. If she didn't marry, she couldn't produce children, which meant no contribution to family lineage, no dowry exchange, which tied families together, and no increase in labor force. Children were needed to work and old age support. Yeah. Barrenness or prolonged singleness was often viewed as a curse or punishment by the gods. Okay, and again, this is, they're speaking from the point of view of many different cultures, but it says barrenness or prolonged singleness was often viewed as a curse or punishment. See? So it's not a good thing to be single, man, whenever you get through. It was never looked at as a thing to be proud about. Okay? But these women nowadays, these hoes is proud about that shit, man. They'll brag about it, man. They'll boast about that shit, man. And a lot of you simps, a lot of you fucking simps out there, the Lord gotta kill you niggas because you are supporting and bigging these bitches up, man. If it wasn't for you simps, hey, a lot of these hoes, they would fall back in the line, But you simps, you fund them, for the bare minimum too. Okay, you low life niggas, man. A bitch will send you a picture of her fucking toenail and you send her $5,000, man. You niggas have no self-respect, All right, that's why the Lord got to get rid of both of you, man. All right, but it says, Salakia, not verse 2, but the point number 2, unmarried women had no protection. All right. A woman without a father or husband or brother, if unmarried, was often socially and economically vulnerable. She had no legal identity of her own. She couldn't own property or testify in court. She was often seen as a burden to her family or community. All right, which, women nowadays, they have an identity, a legal identity. They can own property. They can testify in court. But yet they still won't have their protection in a physical sense, because that's what you're going to need when all hell breaks loose, man. All that ain't going to be no going to the courts, calling up the ambulance because you injured, you hurt your leg, or calling up 911 because you're in dire need of help. You know what I'm saying? You won't do that when all hell break out, man. Okay? When these times fully break out, that Jacob's trouble, all right, this great tribulation we warn you about, you ain't going to have that government support. You see what I'm saying? You're going to be fending for yourself. That's another reason why this is such a shameful thing, because you're not going to have that protection, man. All right? You ain't going to have it. All right? So while this number is continuing to grow, that's a telltale sign, man. A lot of you women going to get jacked up, quite honestly. Okay? And all right, and men ain't looking to take you hoes seriously, man, because y'all don't have nothing to offer. Like I said, that quote earlier, a woman controls access to sex, to the box. All right, but a man controls access to a relationship or to marriage. So a lot of y'all scratch your head. Well, why has this man been with me for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and hasn't proposed or hasn't put a title on us? Bitch, because you ain't right. Because you got all this baggage and trauma from your ex niggas you've dealt with. They done nutted all in you, so you carried all that baggage. Well, I mean, I can't pair bond with you. You're not, what's the word I want to use? You're not malleable. I can't deal with you. I can't mold you to how I need you to be for me. So that's why, man, because a lot of y'all seem like y'all don't understand that. That's why men take all the time in the world and don't ever take you seriously and just use you recreationally. And they might not even tell your ass, that's just what it is because you ain't right. Me magically putting a ring on your finger is not going to make you become a woman. Okay. And I sure as hell ain't getting on one knee. All right. But yeah, it says marriage equals honor. A married woman gains status and dignity, especially if she bore sons. Yeah. An unmarried woman was often viewed as incomplete, undesirable, or shameful, man. Seen as a failure either because she couldn't secure a husband or was believed to have some flaw. And I just went into that, man. Can't not being able to secure a husband. Because y'all got to get to the point to hold yourself accountable, which y'all don't have to do in this society. Because you can just go hop on another dick or hop on another date nap, all right, or go out on a Friday, Saturday night, get drunk and end up in a fucking back of an Uber going home with some random ass nigga. So y'all don't ever have to do that. See? But it's all going to backfire. And this is why a lot of women are depressed, and they wonder why they feel so fucked up. Well, hey, that's why, because you can't secure a man because you have a lot of unhealed baggage, man. All right, come healed, come healed. Which suspicion of immorality says single women, especially those past marrying age, were often assumed to be sexually impure, seductive temptresses, or witches. It says in ancient Israel, virginity until marriage was essential. Unmarried older women were suspected of sexual sin or hidden scandal. Yeah. And, sex is marriage. That's why when you read, Isaac and Rebecca, he went into the tent with Rebecca and went in under her and she became his wife. Okay. But yeah, virginity until marriage was essential, man. That's the purity of it, All right. And, on top of the simple fact that, a lot of you hoes sleeping around all the time, man, your goods just become used up. All right. This shit don't even work how it's supposed to work, and whatnot. Okay. All right. It says religious and cultural laws, which it goes into it more. It says in Jewish culture, the command to be fruitful and multiply, Genesis 1:28, was taken seriously. A woman who did not marry was seen as disobedient to the Most High's purpose for women. Okay, and that's really the main reason, man, because you're disobeying Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Like we grabbed in 1 Timothy 2:15, notwithstanding she shall be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety. But a lot of you don't continue in that. You don't continue in how the Lord ordained you to be. Which, matter of fact, if you read up, so I'm not gonna grab it, but if you read up, you read up 1 Timothy 2, starting at verse 9. In like manner also that the women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness, sobriety, not with broidered hair or gold or pearls or costly array, but which becometh women professing godliness with good works. Okay, that's how you that's how you be a pick-me. Okay, whatever y'all want to call it, you bitches hate the word, pick me this. Well, that's how you get chosen. That's how a man know who to take seriously and who not to take seriously, man. Okay, modest apparel, shamefacedness, etc., man. Not, been out here running the streets, been a whore, twerking on a fucking back of a Hellcat at a stoplight. This dumb shit you hoes do, man. Like, on Instagram, you on all the dating apps, you know what I'm saying? And that's the shame. Okay, they need to make a T app for you hoes, man. Which I don't know if they got it, but yeah, that exposes the shame, man. But that's really the point. I'm gonna grab this. This is Isaiah 4:1. It says, when that time comes, 7 women will grab a hold of one man and say, we can feed and clothe ourselves, but please let us say you are our husband so that we won't have to endure the shame of being unmarried. Okay, and we just showed you several reasons why it's a shameful thing for you women to be unmarried. So in these days ahead, these short days ahead, in which we see the spirit on you women is actually changing now. But you're gonna beg to be with a man, and you're gonna try to grab hold of any man that's gonna want to deal with your ass. But it's really gonna lead to the men of the Lord, because the Lord gonna start offing these niggas left and right because they ain't right. See, so it says when that time comes, 7 women will grab hold of one man and say we can feed and clothe ourselves. So the Lord allowed a lot of you to get all these, these high paying jobs, nurses and lawyers and RNs and etc. Where you got a little substance, so you're gonna be sustaining the men of the Lord. Your ass gonna be simping. You're gonna be doing whatever you can do to try to get into our good graces just to have that provision, protection. Okay, because like I said, it's gonna be times where you're gonna need, divine intervention from the Heavenly Father, man. It ain't gonna be no simple shit you can just, pay your way out of, cause you ain't gonna be able to pay your way out of shit. All right. Just because you know how to use a gun, well, hey, this is a bigger gun out there, man. Now, martial law and these foreign troops, okay, that's the things that are written to happen. So, yeah, man. It says, we can feed and clothe ourselves, but let us say you are our husband so that we won't have to endure the shame of being unmarried. Okay. And how do they become your husband? You got to sleep with them, man. Okay. And, that's just what it is. It says so that we won't have to endure the shame of being unmarried, because then they're going to realize in that day how shameful of a thing it was to be this proud, independent woman. Okay. Esau's duped you hoes, man. Okay. He tricked you, man. That's just what it is. All right. It said, yeah, so that we won't have to endure the shame of being unmarried. And you ain't going to have a list of demands in that day. If anything, the man is going to have the demands, which is really how it's supposed to be anyways. And any talk back, any type of attitude, if I smell feminism on you, shit, then bitch, I'm just going to lead you to the wolves, man. And with that, I'm going to close out and give all praises to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh, Shabbat, Shalom, Kakadash, Shalom.